All right, hey everybody, and welcome to the 90-minute art challenge. I'm your host Bobby Chiu. I also have on here my co-host Masae Seki.
Hello, hello.
Awesome, and yeah, today is the two of us. We are painting a very difficult subject here. You can join us. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. You could join us on Discord. Shoot, what did I do there? Okay, I kind of messed it up. I had this all going well. All right. You know what? I'm going to start off with this. I'm going to start off with what is the 90-minute art challenge? The 90-minute art challenge is just a reason to get together, do some drawing, do some painting. Every time we will put up a new subject on the 90-minute art challenge Tumblr. Okay, so if you go to tumblr.com, you could look up 90-min art challenge and you'll find our Tumblr page. Today's subject is very difficult. We'll get into why this subject was so difficult, but when you're done, you could upload it to Instagram, hashtag 90-min art challenge, and we'll find it there. And when we find it there, we will also show a few of our favorites every time in the beginning of the stream. So lovely drapery.
Mm,
Great
mm-hmm.
job, Ivan. That was the reference. This is from today's.
Ah, ah,
Difficult. It is difficult.
yeah. I love what they did with the drapery in the back. Uh,
Stylized, huh? And
mm,
you got some blurred out areas as well.
mm-hmm.
This is very cool. Very
Oh,
stylized
mm-hmm.
version. Or not
Really well
very
done.
stylized, but yeah. I thought this was kind of neat too.
Ah, cool.
Blackpink. Now I know
Uh-huh.
Lisa of Blackpink because of this challenge.
Yep, from Thailand.
I feel a little bit more hip now. And then this one is John Wick, Keanu. Oh my goodness, way to go, everybody. Those are awesome. Oh, and
Yeah, good
I
job.
also want to. Okay, yeah. You know what? Why don't we get started? Everybody start to paint your thing. You can see Masae, she's already getting really far ahead. She's already got the face down. Oh, she's starting all over.
Yeah. Second time's a charm.
Now, the other
Actually, this
thing.
is, yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go for it.
Mm. Sorry, I'll mention it later.
Okay. Yeah, I'm giving a thumbs up to your super quick way to go. As you can see, everybody, 90-minute art challenge really means 90 minutes. There is no editing in our paintings here. It's just straight 90 minutes, and we just challenge ourselves to really capture the subject. Now, before we move on, I want to talk about Discord, the Discord channel here. So if you see on the bottom of the screen, it says Discord, big pink letters, and it has an address, bit.ly/lbx Discord. You can join in with the Discord community here, and you could paint along with them. You know, you could paint along with everybody. It's super fun, and you can see all sorts of different versions.
Oh, yeah, many different approaches. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch. So feel free to join in. There's actually more and more as the weeks go on, huh? It's pretty
Yeah,
neat.
it's like a study group now.
Legit study group.
Hmm.
And I think now would probably be a good time for us to hop over to Discord. Shall we?
That's good. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna mute my Zoom. And then I'll unmute my Discord, and then, hey, Discord peoples. All
Hi,
right.
everyone.
Hey everyone.
Now, Masay, I did want to talk about this subject and the things that we found difficult, the things that hopefully can help others out that are going to be studying the same subject,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Like, what was the biggest difficulty with this subject, you think?
Uh, Definitely the lighting. The lighting
Yeah.
was because it's not direct, strong lighting, you couldn't see specific like defined shadow shapes, and because it wasn't like clear, you also have to figure out with the subtle form, like the shape. Sorry, because of the form, you have to like figure out with the subtle value differences, like her cheek shape and her nose and just like everything. It was definitely a bit harder to figure out.
Right. Like a lot of portraits or general cinematography, if you can't really feel the form just yet, you bring in another light. You have a more intense light or something like that coming from the side, or it starts to shape out the form more. This one, there is no direct light, right? There is no direct light. It's all ambient light coming in. It gets very uh, difficult, and you don't really realize until you start painting. So
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, a big part was also there's so many elements in here. I was like, let's get these things all down as quick as possible, so you could kind of see like my uh, big brush strokes here, solid color. We're just trying to get this thing filled up.
Yeah, and also because it's like ambient light, there's a lot of soft edges. And when it's like when there's a lot of soft edges, then it could get a bit difficult at certain points.
Yes, Wizard Bunny, he left me a note and said, this is definitely a 9.5. You know,
Yeah.
it's also very difficult because it's a child. Children are just more difficult, I feel, like for many of us anyways, right? There's not a lot of defining parts to a child's face, because everything is just soft skin, it's just soft everything, plus we're dealing with soft light coming in
Mhm.
to describe a soft face. Wow.
Yeah. I think after we finish this painting, the child I drew does look a bit more mature than the photo.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah. So I know what you mean by like sometimes it is hard to capture that you.
I found that in the very beginning, I wasn't trying to match up the features of her face just yet. I kind of
Mm,
exaggerate a bit because I was
mm,
thinking it's going to be hard to keep her as a child. Like as I progressively go and start painting, I felt like there was a danger of maturing her up as I was going, because that's the common thing that I would paint, much more
mhm.
than painting a child's face. So I
Yeah.
tried to compensate by making her extra cute in the beginning.
I see.
I don't know if you noticed, I made her with big puffy cheeks in the beginning, and then later I shaved
Yeah.
off her cheeks. So that's something everybody could look
Mm.
out for.
I think I did the opposite. I kind of made her cheeks a bit more plump to
Mm.
like make her a bit younger.
Well, also you could see in the grand scheme of things, the eyes where they sit on the overall head for yours, it's gone a little higher up because your chin has gone a
Hmm.
little lower down, right?
Yeah. So
You aged
yeah,
her up
definitely mhm.
just a bit.
The location and proportions definitely makes a big difference when it comes to you know, making someone look either youthful or older. That's something that people could probably keep in mind.
Also, we do have the Discord people in here. You guys feel free to join in, chat. There's no guest today. You guys are the guests, all right? Just kind of consider it
We
like that.
feel honored.
Yay!
Hey, Patricia.
Hey, Bobby. Masae. Well,
Hey,
then we'll
Hey,
just
Alpha.
guys.
unmute, shall we?
Yay.
Right on.
The party.
Now,
I'm not sure who is drawing here, but Yish. I'm not sure your username, but it's going great. Like he's already making, or she or they, a grayscale and looks amazing.
oh,
Oh,
really?
nice.
Yeah, I just saw. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Where, which board, or
I think
which
it's a
in
third one.
Patricia's.
Patricia's?
It's a mine.
Hold on
Yeah.
a second. All right,
Well,
let's see what we're talking
right.
about here. Oh, yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Actually, I'm very, because a lot of people in the Discord paint together. I'm curious to ask people who have been doing this for a while, like, what do you guys feel is the like biggest takeaway from painting, you know, side by side with everyone?
I paint more, way more than I used to, and also
Yeah.
it's fun to compare and just take from other people. Like I'm looking at divs right now when they're using some really cool colors, and above them I can't pronounce the name, but they did a lot of prepping with the values and colors of what they wanted to use, and it's really cool to see how people approach it and prepare and just get into the headspace and stuff, and it's just encouraging, you know.
That's awesome. I love
I
the
would
whole
s-
entire thing of like encouraging, because
Mhm.
if we had the sound off, you look at that image, it could feel like people are being competitive, right? But that's not the vibe at all whenever I kind of, am hearing or joining in on these kind of sessions, right?
What I also hear is that some people are like, I would have stopped somewhere, and because you see other people drawing, you want to continue, you want to improve, and that's why we always hang out after the 90s as well. Just keep going and drawing.
Oh, that's so great.
Yay. That's awesome.
I feel like that whenever I paint with other people in this Discord, they're usually like people who are, I would say, better at painting than I am, and in turn, that really motivates me to not overwork my own piece as much as I used to. It motivates me to try and work at the same pace as them, which for me at the very least, is a very healthy thing to do.
I could definitely say like having the different guests and just painting with Masae influences me on the like how I'm gonna be painting. Not to say like not to say like I'm going to do what she does, but it influences me. Like for example, yesterday we were painting with Ergo Josh. What? He's gonna be our guest on Monday. That's gonna be fun. But we were painting, and towards the end of the painting, I saw Masae's painting. I was like, oh, we kind of did kind of the same thing. This like multi-hue kind of thing constantly. If I knew that in the beginning, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just did something. I would try to do something different. So it's neat. It affects you, And sometimes I do take from Masae, like when she was really kicking my butt with the Jingle Jangle challenge there, right? She really just laid down everything in this crazy, reference image. There's so many elements in there, and she just lays them all down so quick because she used 100% opacity and very high flow, very high density. So
it's
later I started doing the
it's
same.
pushing you to draw very spontaneously. Every brush stroke needs to be at the right place. When you see other people, you feel like you need to make some useful brush stroke, I feel.
Yeah. Well, also, it's like there were a couple streams before where I was like, yeah, I don't like this one. I feel like it was a failure. Like when I painted with Carla and stuff like that. It wasn't like, oh, their stuff is better than mine. That's why I think it was a failure. I just felt like it was a failure in terms of what I feel I could do. Right? And then the next bunch, like I'm way more on it. I might be talking, but hey, I am concentrating way more than I was before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely fun to see like both of us improve and get faster. And, once we get faster, that means we can get through the things that we couldn't before, like certain details, or certain like features, for example.
What was your plan with your study here? Because it almost feels like you went about it in a different way this time.
So I think for me, because there wasn't like a strong light source and a defined shadow shape, I was thinking like if I squint my eyes, like I tried to keep everything within like a certain value range. So like if you look at the reference and you squint, there's very defined like lighter value on the shirt and the accessory on her neck and then the headpiece. So I think the way I approached it, if I remember correctly, was at least try to get the details, like the drawing down first, and then slapping on the like darker values, and then try to like stay within that range and like adjust the value range. But yeah,
Different.
because
It feels different, no?
yeah. Oh, like from my other pieces?
Yeah, like a lot of your other pieces, you just start blocking in those main tones like right away.
Yeah, I think it's because of the lighting. I wanted to like approach it differently,
Oh.
so it wouldn't like confuse me.
Oh.
Yeah.
For me, I was just like, I want to lay down everything as quick as possible. This one was more like, I really want to do this very methodically, so that if at any point you pause the video, it has somewhat of the same amount of finishedness in, everywhere. That was my
Yeah.
goal.
And I think I remember. Oh, also like I think I was building up the values as well. Like if it was like a hard light, then I would have done like more sharper, less soft edges. But this one, I think I was kind of like layering it on, making everything blend in with each other.
I thought the way that you're going about it was extra interesting to me, because when you look at the reference, the feeling of it is that there is a lot of darkness in this reference, right? A lot of dark values, and you're going about starting to refine some things without that dark value to kind of check what it is that you're painting will look like, besides some really dark values. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I wonder. I'm just thinking like it's funny how like before I always used to have like one approach to everything, but the more I do studies, it's like I like I think about it more and see what makes the most sense to me. Yeah, and for this one is just
great.
like building the values,
That's
and
such
then
a great statement.
you'll.
Sorry.
No worries. And then later you'll see like I'll block in like really dark values to carve out the figure.
Yeah, and the other thing I remember about this, with this painting, because there's so many different elements, I didn't want to make it feel kind of cookie cutter like okay, let me put in the base color of the blue flowers, and it's just this one tone everywhere, right? And then the orangey red flowers, let's put one tone everywhere, and then keep everything separated, and then render out each part. I didn't want to do that. So I just kept everything much more loose with my colors. Like you could see half of her face is more yellow, and then half of her face is more like orangey. Right? And those kind of subtleties, I was just like, yeah, that's what I want it to be about. I just want to plop these things in, and, as I go, and judge each color as I go.
Because they're all relative to each other.
Because I didn't want it to, and I didn't want it to be everything to be too clean and separated. You know,
Yeah.
when it's too clean and separated, a lot of times it could feel kind of plasticky. It could feel kind of graphic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been like super into like video game concept artists, like character design, like Alex Neonakis, shoot, I keep forgetting, Ashley Sadowski. Like when I see their pieces, it's like it's super rough, and you can clearly see the brushstrokes, but there's so much information in the whole thing. So lately, I've been trying to do more of like this loose but detailed painting studies.
I love doing these streams with you, Masae, because we can really get into some nerdy conversations here, you know,
Yeah.
because sometimes this is the thing with traditional versus digital. Sometimes you do something traditional and you're like, wow, it looks really good, right? But then if you did the same brushstrokes or whatever digitally, it wouldn't look so good because of the
Mm-hmm.
cleanliness of it, right? Like texture, paint, like subtle paint marks, things like that. It adds to the piece and increases the forgiveness that the viewer will have when they look at your piece.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like if something is way too clean and you have this just subtle value variation there that everything else is so clean, what's that variation doing there? And it just looks
Yeah.
off instantly.
Yeah. So I think because I'm more of like a rough painter, I slowly realized that this year. Like I think for me it works. My pieces work better when it looks a bit rough, but just enough like refinement to make it look like a very like finished piece. I'm definitely still working on it, but yeah, I enjoy finding artists who have that painting approach and just really trying to study like I want like just trying to figure out like which paint stroke did they do first,
Mm.
and then what did they put on top to make it look like this. Because I get into the like I'm sure a lot of people it's happened before, or at least in the beginning, where they kind of like zoom into one part and just like detail out everything, and rather than like just putting on a few brushstrokes and then it looks complete.
Yeah, sometimes people they put on those rough brush strokes at the end of their painting to make it feel
Mm.
like everything else was just loosely painted this whole entire time, and then gets refined, refined, refined until it's like crazy awesome. And you see this rough mark and you're like, wow, that's how they were kind of working this whole entire time. It totally wasn't. That's
Yeah.
pretty interesting too. I did want to mention to people in the chat here in YouTube, yes, we can see the YouTube chat, Nala, and I try to answer some stuff there. But generally, if you could ask your questions by going to slido.com hashtag ChewStream. You don't need to sign up for an account. It's just what we use to organize the questions a lot better and separate them from the general chat there. You can also upvote questions as well. Now,
Yeah, we also take questions on Discord.
yes,
We can hear you in
totally.
person.
Yeah, and just general conversation in Discord as well. Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question now. This one's coming in from Slido. This one is, how can I get the most in an online art class and how to find a good one? Because there's a lot of online classes today. I swear I do not know this person. This is not like, but obviously I'm gonna answer this one because shoot, we have this incredible sale right stinking now. The winter sale, look at that painting. Wow, what an amazing painting. I wonder who did that. It must be one of those incredible artists uh, that we look up to so much. Yeah. That was a really great painting, Masae. I really love this
Thank
one.
you.
It's
Oh,
so
thank you.
awesome. Where did you come up with the idea here, by the way?
So actually, the concept itself came a year and a half ago, and
Oh,
then
wow.
yeah, it was literally a little super rough sketch where I was like, oh, it'd be cute if this was like a candy. Um, and then there's another drawing where I did like an Inktober drawing of this girl holding a branch of these frozen berries.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, this is such a fun idea. Like, I want to actually eventually paint it. And then I thought, you know, for the winter time, it might be an appropriate painting to do. And you know, the whole
Beautiful.
idea is like the gift of giving.
Yeah. It's awesome. I love it.
Thanks.
And of course, we used it for the winter sale. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. You know, on schoolism.com, Schoolism is like, I'm totally biased, but I'm gonna just say it. It's like best kind of arts online art school out there because you also get the value. It's not just the incredible instructors that we have, like Ian McKeag, Alex Wu that won, an Oscar as a student, Andrea Blasic that sculpted for Spider-Verse, Oscar-winning Spider-Verse, or Oscar-winning Brave, Craig Mullins, the godfather of digital painting, and so many more, so many more. Victoria Ying, incredible everything. She's worked in feature film. She does graphic novels. She does everything. Jamila Kanaf, another incredible, outstanding. Anyways, all these people, they all teach on Schoolism. And you see this lovely banner that we have ticking down the time. This is how much time you have left to take advantage of the sale. This sale is incredible because you get one whole entire year of Schoolism, of subscribing to Schoolism, which means that you get not just one class, but all of the courses, over 40 courses on Schoolism, multiple lessons in every course, assignments, and all that jazz. And all you need to do is come to schoolism.com, click on the banner, and sign up. All right.
I definitely don't want to be biased too, but Schoolism taught me how to paint. And
Taught me how to
hopefully
paint. Yeah.
And I think the best part about it is we have like similar courses that talk about the same topic, but every teacher teaches it differently and in a different way and a different approach. And for me, from my personal experience, like I watched like many of like lighting and color courses, and I think in the beginning, like because I didn't really understand painting, like I was absorbing the information, but like I was still trying to understand it. But once I hit a certain course where everything kind of like piled up with each other, everything just clicked, and then I was like, oh, that makes sense because I learned this from this course, and then I took this piece from this course and kind of like put it all together, and then it just like all, made sense.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of like art is so big and encompassing. Like, how do you learn all of art? It's
Mhm.
pretty much impossible. It's kind of like we're all blind people trying to describe or trying to understand an elephant, right? And it's like this
Yeah.
one person really understands that trunk, and then you learn everything that that person learned about the trunk. And then this other person's like,
Mhm.
nah, elephants like this, and starts talking about, the feet and whatever. And you learn enough about that one subject from enough different people telling you, their experience and their way. It
Mhm.
really creates such a valuable style and like just a warehouse of incredible knowledge. Right, and now I feel like you've kind of tapped on this a little bit, Masae, where you're like, I used to have an approach. Now I don't know. Now I just kind of look at it and I
Mhm.
decide on the approach. Right, and that's
Yeah.
exactly the goal.
Yeah.
Craig Mullins, he told me, he was like, style is really what style is are nice cheats, nice looking cheats, right? Because it's like, oh, you made a formula to do that. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh man. Okay, yeah. Okay, don't search for style. Just and he's like, yeah, every time I try to just do something I don't know how to do. I'm like, wow, you are awesome. And he means it,
Yeah.
you know, he's so humble. You could
Yeah.
tell he means it 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Craig. So good and so humble. I definitely agree with that. Like, styles are just shortcuts that other people kind of came up with, and like, I think I eventually learned, like, yeah, it's when I see someone's style that I really like, it's like it's their approach, it's how they digest like reality into art, and like I don't necessarily try to copy it, but I try to, you know, find the influences in
Understand
their
it.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So search for knowledge, everyone.
That's it's like
um,
the best adventure game ever. This whole, you know, being an artist.
yeah.
I wrote
And
down, oh, go for it. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, to the person who asked, like, how can I get most in an online class, in an online art class, doing the homework and then posting it online to see what other people think also helps. And watching, so in Schoolism, we post the critique classes, like where the teacher critiques the students' work. So that's also really super helpful because you can take what other people did and how the instructor would, I guess, you know, change it or fix it.
How I go through self-taught classes is I'll just keep them on all the time. You know, unless I'm writing an email, unless I'm reading something where like I can't have another voice in my head. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm painting and drawing, I just leave it on. And I know some of you might be like, I can't really listen while painting and drawing. Well, there's a lot of stuff that will go right past me as well, especially when I'm really concentrating on my painting. But I'll just let it play. And then I'll let it play again. You know, like I just keep listening to it over and over. And each time, if I'm absorbing, you know, 40%, 60%, that's okay. I play it again, I absorb more.
Can I ask you a question, Bobby?
Yeah.
Um, might be uh, might be a bit of overreach, but what do you think is a realistic timeline to get not get everything, but at least get through all the courses in Schoolism? Because I know there's never
Oh,
enough to learn, you know. But you know, how long do you think I can really say I'm done with all of them?
I think, well, I think like it depends on your skill level because you can absorb things better when you're at a higher skill level because you got all these other things that you understand that you can relate to help you understand that new thing. Okay, so that also makes the answer like, well, it depends. It depends. Uh, but the other part about this is that I use a lot of these courses as resources as well. So
Mhm.
like I don't understand this. Let me go back to Terrell's, you know, thing where she starts to talk about elephants, right? And let me understand that again, or whatever class and whatever they're talking about. ZBrush. I go back to Justin's class quite often if I'm trying to do ZBrush again because I forget, you know, things like that. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
I would say I think it's probably different for everybody. Generally, what I like to do is maybe 3 courses in a year to really concentrate on. Right, so
Yeah.
each one I'm spending about 4 months really trying to get good at it.
Yeah. And it's, um, I mean, because there's so many courses and you can literally like watch it like Netflix anytime, whichever one you feel like it. It's easy to binge, and I think that's kind of like where people need to be careful. It's like it's awesome that you can go through all the classes and watch it everything, but it doesn't matter if you can't absorb it and apply it to your own stuff. So I think it's like what Bobby said. Maybe it's probably better to focus 3 in a year because there's just like so much knowledge that you don't want to miss out on, and it'd
Yeah,
be a shame to kind of like watch something and then forget about it watching the next class.
the common thing that I see people doing wrong with like just learning in general, because everything's so just at our fingertips nowadays, right? They kind of quote unquote they watch everything with their eyeballs. It's not going in their heads though, right? And they'll come and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I did every whatever class. I've watched every, I've read every book." And I'm like, "Okay, well then how come you were asking me about this?" And like I don't say it like that. I don't put them on blast, but you know, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my head. Like, okay, you did every schoolism class. I'm looking at your portfolio, going, I don't see it there though. Did you do the actual assignments? Did you? Because there's a huge difference, okay, between like if we were just copying every reference, we were not analyzing it. We're just trying to copy lines, values, colors, and then we try to paint for ourselves out of our imagination. We were just talking about this just before this stream. It's like you wouldn't really see much improvement, right? Because you weren't exercising those kind of quote unquote brain muscles, that way of thinking. You concentrate on that particular way of thinking, or that particular way that teacher is telling you to think in that class. You got to do it a bunch of times and exercise that way of thinking to really get it under your belt before you can go, all right, I'll go on to the next thing. And the other thing is art. You might love it because of this, or you might hate it because of this, but it's elusive. You put that watercolor down for a while. You start doing a whole bunch of digital painting. You pick up that watercolor 5 years from now, it won't be the same. You got to get back on that horse again, which is kind of cool. I like that whole idea.
Yeah. 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 It's fun.
Yeah, and then the last thing I want to mention to the person that asked the question here is effort. Effort is nothing without a goal. So what is your goal? Because most of the time when I ask people this, their goal is not really their goal. That's what they thought was their goal. But when you really kind of think about it, it's not specific at all. That's generally the kinds of goals that I hear from people when I go, what is your artistic goal? So maybe, if you don't mind sharing, do you have a goal?
I think for now there's 2 answers I could give.
Danger
One is a
already,
simple
danger
one.
already. But
The
okay.
simple one is I wanna get better with the sort of a Craig Mullins type of style, and also incorporating photos into my pictures, trying to really, not to get my picture, not go the lazy way about it, because Craig Mullins has a lot of under his belt. He really knows what he's doing when he's doing like those messy looking paintings. And I mean I feel like that's my go right now. But the other thing, something I asked Carlo the other day, and is to be able to take more time with my paintings, because I feel like whenever I get 2 hours in a drawing, I kind of want to be done with it. So I asked her, like, does she think there's a lot more to do the personal side of the artist and psychological side more than learning the about art itself. If you have to be a patient person to be a patient artist, that was it.
Yeah, one thing that I think every artist can relate to is the power of loving things that other people find boring, right? Like, we're a different breed. We could look at a pile of garbage and be fascinated and actually sit there and paint that pile of garbage for like 6 hours, and then be satisfied and go home going, I had a great day. Isn't that funny? But that's also what made us such good artists, right? Because like we learn to love those things that are hard to love. I also feel like that's why there are so many quote unquote nerds in our industry, Masae, because that is what kind of like to be a quote unquote nerd these days. I feel like I'm a nerd. I'm proud of it. But it's like to be a nerd these days, it's like you got to put in effort to be a nerd. You got to do all the research of like every other Mandalorian that ever existed or every other lightsaber, all this stuff to actually be a true nerd of the Mandalorian or whatever, right? And it's like art, we got to be real painting and drawing and illustration nerds about this and like geek out about the most mundane things. Yeah, so get obsessed about those boring things, especially when you talk about, oh, I have a hard time painting something for over 2 hours, and you want to paint like Craig Mullins. You cannot get to Craig Mullins' level until you're able to spend a lot of quality time understanding stuff and painting it for like perhaps a lot more hours than 2 hours. I definitely remember painting really long studies, and they turned out like crap in the end, but it's all good because I absorbed a lot of stuff and I learned a lot of stuff, and when I want to paint it again, it's way quicker. Actually, all the people in my Schoolism class right now, in my digital painting class, I have this lesson where all of a sudden you got to paint the same, not just 7 paintings. You got to paint the same painting 7 times. That's what I asked them to do. Right? Because like every time you're learning a little something different. And every time I ask them to concentrate on something different. But it's the same subject.
Yeah, start slow, then you start speeding up.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like it's not, our whole entire thing shouldn't be like, okay, let's get this Schoolism class and try to burn through every course. That shouldn't be the goal, right? The smarter goal, I think, is like, okay, let me get this Schoolism class and try to improve as much as possible. How do I do that? By the time a year has passed, I look at my art in the beginning of the year, I look at it now, it's complete night and day. That's what, I feel like our goals should be about.
On a side note, the one courses I did manage to get through, I did feel the level up pretty instantly, Bobby, to be honest.
Awesome. Which one was that?
It was Sim Newsom's, Nathan Phelps's, and Craig Mullins's, and then I felt like I got burnt out and wasn't really able to get through any others.
Oh, well, yeah, maybe, just chill out a bit. Take your time. It looks like you're,
Yeah.
sounds like you're improving.
Those are heavy courses though.
Right.
Like
I really feel like I
I
should have started with the others.
like even just Craig's, I watched it I think at least 2 or 3 times now, like but in like different speed because yeah, there's just like so much that you learn and like you get really excited and you want to like apply it to your like artwork, but then when you don't, then you kind of like feel bad, and then it's like this bad cycle that you can fall into. So yeah, I think like slowing down and not only watching the courses, but for me, I found that like also maybe reading some books that talk about that specific subject, or like reading articles or looking at other people's work and try to, like, if you learn something from Nathan's course, it's like look at an art book and see like how did this person apply this knowledge to their piece. So try to look for different resources, ways and approaches.
Yeah, something I wanted to mention is Nathan, he's made a bunch of like artist workouts to have as like kind of like a companion to his courses, so he'll have like a designing with light and color course where he explains the theories and everything about light and color and designing with light and color, specifically the way that he does it. And then if you take the workout after, the artist workout after of like designing with light and color with Nathan Fowkes, that just really brings it home, because he supplies all of these exercises for you. And that's what I've been getting more and more into, because I have less and less time. I don't have time to write notes and look over notes and do the homework and watch everybody else's feedback videos and all this stuff. So I do the workouts because I know I've seen his course before. I understand much of it, and so now it's about exercising what he taught. But also I wrote down a couple little talking points that I was thinking maybe like us as well as the Discord community can just chat about, instead of asking, does anybody have any questions? So I wrote down this one, which is, with the amount of connectedness we have with one another these days, a pleasing personality is more important than we think. Does anybody have anything to kind of add or talk about with that?
So a pleasing personality is more important than we think, right?
Yes, especially with the connectiveness that we have these days.
I agree with.
Okay, I would definitely agree, because especially on these surface like Discord, where you meet a lot of people where you don't necessarily are able to put a face in front of all these different people that you're talking to. I feel like having a memorable personality, and well, most preferably one that's kind, really helps just set a conversation and just build friendships as well.
I do notice whenever Kofi is in the audience or whatever in the Discord, everybody like greets him like I was gonna say Norm from Cheers, but I don't know if anybody even knows what Cheers is anymore.
I don't know who that is. No.
It was like this guy that would come into the bar. The sitcom took place in a bar, and every time the guy would come in, the regular would come in, everybody would yell, "Norm!" And then he'd say, "Hey, good evening, everybody," and he goes and sits down, right? And whenever Kofi comes into the conversation, comes into the Discord, everybody's like, "Hey, Kofi!" It's like, it's like that.
I was going to say that sounds a lot like Kofi.
Yeah, he's definitely a sunshine.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I just want to make a flip side of the coin aspect to this is that everybody has to sort of more wear their personality on their sleeve a bit more. You know what I'm saying? Just because everybody is reacting a lot quicker to things, people, art, that, if you're not showing immediately positive personality traits, people will label you negatively.
Yes. Well, yeah, like the internet has made everything into yeses and nos. Like there is no, I kind of sort of like it. There's literally like a thumbs up or thumbs down button. Right?
Yeah, less nuance.
Yeah. So, man, that's something I wish we could change a bit. I don't know. More emojis.
For
We need
sure.
more emojis. Or more whatever.
I think we have plenty of emoji.
We need one where it's like, you know, it's not bad right now. And
Just the eh.
yeah.
That's true.
I also think
Yeah,
what you put out, like, because for example, you notice like Kofi is getting kind of a response. I think it is for everyone. What you put out is what you get back in a way. I don't know if you're. For example, we have like one person, Gabriel, who is always very positive and like, "Hey, bro," and everybody when he comes back, they're like using the same language. So it's
Mhm.
what you yeah. What
There's
you put out.
feedback loops on everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's also interesting, like when you do have a pleasing personality, and even if you say something that someone might not like agree with, I think if they understand what that person is like, you know, they have a good heart and they come from a good place, but even if there's something that they disagree with, you're not gonna get as mad compared to someone who just says something that's like negative and then you kind of like quickly label them. So I think it kind of like works together where you have to kind of I don't know, it's kind of weird to say, but maybe establish that, like, you know, you're a good person, but then you also have different opinions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that one's a
Absolutely.
tougher one, right?
Yeah,
that
it
one
is very
comes with
tough.
time. That one comes with time.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
If I
Discord is.
can interject. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No worries. No worries. It's just It's funny we were talking about this because it was just a few sessions ago, and we were talking about it in the Discord afterwards. That the personalities that come in here, it's almost like there's thermostats and thermometers. You know, people come in, and what does a thermostat do to a room? You know, it adjusts the temperature of the room, and people are affected by that person. Versus a thermometer where it just gauges what goes on in the room and is affected by it. So however you come into these rooms, like Kofi, for that example, he comes in a cheery person by nature. Obviously, you could see even after a Discord, he would be the same way. And when he comes in, it's that immediate, oh, the warmth. You know, Kofi's here, you know, and it's that immediate, everybody, like you're saying, like Norm, I get that completely. And it just depends on that type of personality. And you're so spot on right when you're talking about today's society, where it's literally, we're going to judge you by the push of a button, by a like, by a swipe, by whatever it is. It's so instantaneous that human connection of being able to come into a room and affect it versus being affected by it is something that's lost right now. And we're finding our way back towards it, especially with this lockdown. But more importantly, when we're back in person, that ability to affect a room when you come into it and be that person that if something is said to you, you're going to do one of two things, because we all walk around with 2 buckets a day, right? One with water and one with gasoline. So if something's said to you negatively, what do? What bucket do you throw on that situation? So that's my 2 cents, but I'll step down off my soapbox.
No, that was great. That was great.
That was awesome.
I love
that was
everything that
great.
you said there. And you know, here's the other thing about the internet specifically. Like, every time you have every reason to throw that gasoline on and roast the person that has been saying something crazy or whatever, every time you're in one of those situations is an opportunity for you to go the other way. And if you do, you're generally rewarded every time, right? Like, I remember clear example is I used to do this subway sketch group thing, and you know, meet people on the subway, teach them how to sketch, you know, draw, and if they just want to sketch with me, then that's cool. That was a free thing, and because it's free and it's a good idea, it kind of spread all over the world. And you know, over 30 groups around the world. One day I get this horrible email just roasting me, just like, you know, you're so, you know, full of it and blah, 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 blah. I don't even remember what it was. I just remember how it made me feel. And I felt hurt, you know. I wanted to say something back that was, you know, just as nasty, maybe a little less, but still nasty. And then I didn't. And then I just thought to myself, this person sounds sad. This person sounds angry and sad, and I don't think it's me. I just wrote back to him just saying, I'm so sorry that you feel this way. Like, was this something I did? I don't want you to feel like this about me, and that's not what I'm about. So, I apologize for making you feel that way. It wasn't my intention. And then he wrote back to me just saying, I got this the next day, and it was like saying, man, I feel absolutely embarrassed that I wrote to you like that. I'm a big fan. I actually run one of these Subway sketch groups in this other country, and I won't mention. And he was like, I wrote to you before. I didn't get a response. So yesterday, in just like my drunken whatever, like I was like, I'll get a response from him. Let me send him this. And and then he sobered up the next day and he's apologizing. So it's like, every time you have every right to throw that gasoline on the fire, if you turn away and you don't, like, generally you will be rewarded.
Absolutely. Choices and consequences, right? I tell it to my kids all the time that there's you could be locked away in the deepest, darkest dungeon in the most farthest region of the world, and in the dark, chained up against a wall, but you're still given that one God-given right, and that's the right to choose.
Yeah.
You choose what it is that you're going to think about. And kind of just paraphrasing, one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, he was talking about, there's some people you're not going to be able to satisfy everybody. There's only about 9 or 10 negative people in the world. Truly negative. They move around a lot, but there's only about 9 or 10. So everybody else is either reacting to a situation or doing something that is that they're feeding off of. It's not directed towards you. It's more of a push and pull throughout their days, something that happened to them that's causing them to react that way. And once you can understand that and come at it with a little bit more compassion, it's your life is going to be so much more smoother.
Yeah, also, like, we live in a time where, especially the younger generation, they know what's up. You can't fool them very much, like, not like the older people. We tend to be a bit more gullible. Right? So, like, if somebody says some crap about you that's not true, this new generation, like, they will figure it out crazy fast. Generally, and then they'll be like, no, you got to read this, you got to see this, it all gets debunked pretty quickly. Generally.
For sure. We also come from a time where the word and a handshake meant something. So it's a different mindset towards it. Whereas now everything's almost like a facade, and you got to be able to, social media is showing something that really maybe you're not. You're showing all the highlights of your life, that you've got to kind of weed through that a lot faster because the information's coming at you a lot quicker. So if you can't, then you're going to fall into the muck a lot easier. So I get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting as well because, like, social media, we like to categorize things so much, especially with, like, I find with people that I follow. Like, I follow this one guy. He puts bugs on his face. He puts these giant bugs on his face and shows all the bugs in his bug collection. I find it fascinating. And then one day, I think he showed, like, something else that wasn't bugs on his face. And I was like, man, I'm, like, this close to unfollowing you. You know what I mean? Like, we can't be as multi-dimensional, even though that's how we are. We're people, we're humans. I swear, I don't swear that much online because one time I swore and then this person wrote in and it's like, man, Bobby, I watch these streams with my son and I watch them because I know that you're going to be child friendly and you're a good person, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I can't believe you swore.
My God.
Yeah, and that, like, traumatized me a bit. And I was like, oh, man. And then all of a sudden, like, I remember one other time I did swear in a stream, and then somebody's like, "Oh damn, Bobby swore," you know, like almost like, "Oh, like that's funny, that's funny. He doesn't swear." I'm like, "Ah, man, okay."
You're an
get it.
online president. You're not allowed to be human, right?
Yeah, I get it. I
Online.
get it.
I mean, I get the mother's comment. You know, I watched it with my son.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I admit that it totally makes sense, but it's just like I wasn't trying to get into some sort of category, you know.
Yeah.
All right, you want to hear another? That was a good kind of conversation there. I
Yeah.
have
All I know is that Kofi just got really happy just by watching us praise him.
All right, I have another one here. So this I wrote down, no challenge equals no motivation to excel. If you're not challenging yourself, you do not have motivation to excel. Now you could totally disagree with these statements too. It's just I wanted to kind of just bring out some statements that we could talk about. No challenge equals no motivation to excel.
What do you mean by challenge?
Like if you're not challenging yourself, if you don't have a challenge in your life, like for me, I want to paint more directly. You know, I want to not do the drawing as much, and that's my challenge currently.
Yeah. I feel like again it depends, but like when you say like you want to paint more directly, I feel like that's a skill you already have a bit of a foothold into. But let's say you want to learn a new skill, well then it's appropriate to not challenge yourself too much. Let's say you want to work out a bit more. Obviously, you're not going to go all out at every single workout. You got to take it easy. But I feel like it's appropriate to challenge yourself every once in a while to see how far you've come. But I would say, in generally speaking, when you're trying to learn something new, I would say take it easy and do it step by step.
Isn't that in its own way, though, challenging yourself to say, oh, I want to work out some more? And so you're challenging yourself to actually do the working out, regardless of how intensely you're going about it.
Maybe you could look at it that way. The way I looked at it more was like, oh, I want to be able to run 12 kilometers straight, you know, like in that sense. And that's your motivation to work out.
That's a really good thing to bring up as well. You know, it's like you got to look at the challenges that you're choosing for yourself. That's another big part of this equation, right? Like, is the challenge, are you climbing up the right tree? You know, like you're putting in this effort, is it for the right reasons, right? Because like if your whole challenge to yourself is to finish every schoolism class, then you probably will, but you probably won't get as good as you would have hoped, right? It's far better if you have the challenge of, I really want to truly understand and be able to use the skills that is taught in these 3 courses next year. That's already a really good challenge.
I mean, I feel like it's difficult because people just take the biggest challenges because that's their goal, right?
Yeah. Some people, the smart
Did
people.
Bobby just call me out?
What's that? Sorry, I kind of did, but you know, hopefully you forgive me. You know, because like that's something that a lot of people do as well. So it's not like I'm just using the opportunity. So I hope that's cool. Because you
It's
have the
fine
right
with me.
intentions, you know what I mean? And I want to
Yeah.
get you there. I want to get you there
I
as
feel like,
much as possible.
I feel like the one mistake I did was do the 3 courses over the course of like 4 months instead of
Yeah.
separating them for the whole year, you know.
That's crazy tough. Like I'm a hard worker, but I would give myself 4 months per course because I want to do the course over and over again to really understand everything. I want to be able to apply it to my own stuff, not just the assignments.
Yes.
But I think for you, it's really good that it does suck. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a good feeling going through that like burnout, but I think that itself was a great learning experience because then you know, okay, this is a bit too much. Like I have to change my strategies, my approach to this because if I do this again, like it will be, it won't be as effective.
Hmm.
So I think it's a positive thing to kind of go through that and like learn these things because failures aren't really failures, it's just a learning experience in the end.
Yes, I'm definitely starting to see it as that I have been for a while. Yeah, hope
Hmm.
to get more of the out of the next ones for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
y- y- before when I was in high school or whatever, I would drive around with my friend. He had a car, and we had no money, so we were always low on gas. And we kept testing the gas meter. Like, what is the true potential of this car? What is empty, really? And we kept going until one day he truly ran out of gas, and we had to walk to the gas station. We had to get one of those tanks and fill up the tank and or whatever. And it was crappy, kind of like going through burnout. It's crappy. But also, like what Masae said, it could become like the best learning experience you ever had because now you truly found out what your potential is, like what is too much. Because
So
so
how
many
much did you have exactly on the gas?
Oh, it was empty for a while. It went past the E for a while, and then it just went pop, 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 and then it just stopped.
But, but but would you say that every once in a while you would have to empty that gas can to just see, hey, how far have I come?
No, I just need to know one time, and
Just
then I'm like,
once.
okay, yeah, I get it. That's I need to get gas, right? But if you're paying attention, you just need to see it one time and maybe just see it from your friend. It doesn't even have to be your car, or whatever, right? But
Learn from other
finding
people.
finding that potential is another huge key to really leveling up and doing really well with your career. Like I think about those people in The Biggest Loser, when they're trying to lose weight. It's like all these really large individuals, and I'm sure many of them have tried to lose weight before, but they didn't. I feel like many of them probably didn't realize what their true potential was, so they stopped way too soon all the time. And then they get on this show and they feel like they're practically dying. And I feel bad for them. I'm just like, oh man, please, like, take care of yourself. I hope nothing happens. And like nothing happened to any of the contestants anyways on the show, and they all lost drastic weight, right? And they found their true potential. And so many of us, we don't understand what our true potential is, and we feel like it's way less than what it truly is.
Well, they had other people pushing them forward, whereas they were giving up on themselves too quick.
That's always, after interviewing so many people, that definitely seems like a common thing, which is why, like, I really love the Discord community because everybody's so encouraging, right? So I'm sure already there's been some people here that have like helped others to continue on past when they believe, they stop believing in themselves, right? Which is amazing to kind of see, or to be that person for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It costs nothing. It costs nothing.
It do be free.
Yeah, speaking of great personalities, we had Hari on here not too long ago from the Indonesian artist living in Vienna. The most amazing personality, right? And the most craziest upbringing with the most like disadvantages I've heard in a long time. And he just kind of just lit up everybody's room, right? Just talking, and still the most happiest as well. I don't know where I was
I
going
feel
with that.
that's such a great compliment to get, just hearing, oh, you have a great personality.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how people like Steve Jobs would think about how society feels about him, after he died. He's accomplished so much, and then while he was alive, I heard nothing but good things. Once he died, then you hear like, oh, he was a tyrant, he was a bully, he was all this stuff. And then many still highly respect him, but the image has changed, because now he's not around. People feel like they can kind of say how they really felt a bit more. It's like, is that worth it? Is it worth it accomplishing all that to be just known as kind of like a tyrant?
Again, depends on your goals, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
It can hurt himself now.
Yeah. Like, we can't live forever, but we can live through other people and the way that we affected them, the stories that they tell of us, right? And I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot more important things out there, than just like making an iPhone or something, even if it changes the world. I hate my iPhone, by the way. I hate the fact that we all got...
That's a statement.
Right? We all got phones, pretty much, and we can't get rid of them, and it's just like... And the thing is, now it's crazy hard to live without it because everybody has one. And,
True.
a lot of people, they would say, if I told you, hey, if you go under the surgery... And after the surgery, we can talk to each other telepathically. Would you do it? I think most of us would still say no.
No, of course not.
No.
Well, we got a phone. That's what a phone does. We just don't need the surgery. So now all of us have these superpowers, pretty much. We could all talk to each other telepathically, kind of, right? Without another person knowing, in the same room, sitting right beside you, because it's through text or whatever. If you don't have that phone anymore, you just gave up your superpowers. While everybody in the world still got those superpowers,
I mean, cell phones really are, in a sense, like magic. If you go back, like, even probably 50 years or so, it would still seem just like magic. Go back 100 years, it's witchcraft.
50 years at this point is only like 70s? Is my math right there? Yes.
If you showed me an iPhone when I was a kid, and you were dressed up in a real shitty, like, Star Trek costume that you just bought from the dollar store, I would be like, you're from the future. You are. Because you have a little video inside your little plaque, and that video is magic. That person is listening to you and can talk to you. That was the future to me, 100%. To most people living in the 80s or whatever.
All I could think about were flying cars.
Yeah.
Wow. Me too.
Back to the Future really set expectations pretty high for 2015, didn't they?
Yeah.
I know. I was kind of disappointed when I realized, oh, that's this coming year or whatever.
Yep.
They have flying taxis now?
I've seen like the
planes?
I've seen some stuff in China or whatever on a video where the person walks into a little helicopter kind of looking pod, and there's nothing in there except for an iPad looking thing. He types in his address, the thing goes up and drops him off.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the thing that I saw didn't really look like a helicopter. It looked like it was like some kind of jet propulsion thing.
But you saw this on the internet, right? You didn't see this in person.
Not in person, no.
Oh, okay. So
they're in
common.
development,
It's
and
common.
they're just for the super rich, obviously, right now.
Great.
Like taking a helicopter.
All right. Well, you want to go on to the next? I got a couple other little statements here that we could kind of talk about.
Yeah, these are great.
Yeah.
Right? They're
These are
kind of
fun.
fun. They're kind of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this one. Do what's fair for everyone. Concentrate on building relationships instead of trying to get as much benefit as you can.
Can you repeat that?
So it's really the last part. Concentrate on building relationships instead of trying to get as much benefit as you can. Right, and this kind of this started.
That's hard.
Well, this started from this whole entire thing where it was like, do you ever get a really good deal, really good arrangement with somebody else, and they got the short end of the stick, and you realize that they got the short end of the stick, and you didn't care. You just kept that big end, and you're like, yes, that was the deal, and you would benefit. But perhaps you would have lost a lot of like future benefits because you soured the relationship. Right? Like with Schoolism, here's something that I'm really proud of with Schoolism. There were a couple teachers on school. There are a couple instructors on Schoolism that were doing extremely well. Right? And so in the middle of their contract, we called them up to change their deal to a better deal for them. Like, who does that? But like, we did that because it's the right thing to do what's fair for everybody, but also like the most important thing for us is the relationships between, us and the instructors. Not trying to get as much as I can from them or something like that.
Well, that just goes to like the question, is it okay to rip off your employees? And the answer is probably not.
Well, this isn't ripping off though. This is like you are getting a really good deal right now, and we just feel like you should get a better deal. So they were very happy with the deal already. Right.
So you could afford it and you made the deal better.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like, Dave Chappelle, right? He had this whole entire thing about his Chappelle show being on Netflix, and he got upset about it, right? And he told Netflix, hey, I don't like this. Netflix paid a lot of money to have that show on their streaming service, and they just decided to take it off because Dave Chappelle didn't like it, and it was making him feel crappy. Right? Like, was he getting ripped off?
Because he never got paid. He never got paid for the show. That's
why. It's not like, we're abusing our employees. I don't think he lives a crappy life. You know what I mean? But he wasn't getting the fair deal that he deserved. That's what I kind of mean. Like, if those teachers were not doing as good as they were doing, then the deal that they have is a good deal. It's a great deal. That's what I'm kind of getting at. But I know what you're saying too, so.
No, I get your point. I just didn't quite understand the question because it was a bit of a broad subject.
Yeah, it's just
reinforcing positive feedback, basically.
I think
good quality.
After kind of chatting about this myself, I'm just like, I think maybe the thing really here is relationships is far more important than monetary gain. Right?
Right? I mean, that just goes back to the whole subject of does money make you happy?
Yeah. That mindset right there is the reason why your concept is going to thrive, because you're basing it off of something that is solid and integral from the beginning. And that's, any kind of business that's built on sand is not going to last the first, wave that comes in. And the fact that you're building it off of integrity and the ability to give back to your employees because they're not getting as great a deal as they can, that's something that's so unheard of nowadays. So Good on you, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's idealistic, I would almost say.
That's the great thing about running your own thing, because you could run your own thing. You know, like all these other ways that people do things, we don't have to do it like that. And that was like something I had like a big kind of debate with one of my former teachers when I was in college, because I was talking about I want to start my own thing. I want to start my own studio. And he was like, you know, you should work in a studio for like 10 years before you start your own studio. You know, I was just like, but what's to say that they're doing it the right way? Because 10 years ago, it was completely different. There was no computer animation. There was all this other stuff. You know, it's like we have this habit as human beings, as society, to, okay, that person got some traction doing it that way. I'm going to do it that way now. And I'm going to build on top of that, making something else, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then before you know it, you have all of this stuff built on something that never should have been in the first place, like you know, fossil fuels or something like that, or like algorithms that reward us on how much time you waste, you know, your life on this app. Like that's how these companies make their money. Like, and then everybody keeps building on that. It's like so wrong. We got to keep thinking, if we had to start all over, is this the way that we would want to go? How would we go about it if we're to start all over?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That brings an old saying I've heard that kind of reminds me of that. When your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall.
Oh,
So
shoot.
that
That's a good
whole,
one.
you know, that whole mindset of just because we're doing it and we're making money, is it the right thing to do? Because time is a great equalizer. Time is going to, it's going to either promote you or expose you. You know, there's no way you're going to get away from that. So as soon as whatever you're doing becomes something that you have to question, you're not able to sleep at night because of whatever the deal is, then you gotta make that shift, and you got to do it quickly, because if you don't, then it's only going to perpetuate something that's going to grow into something you didn't, you know, that the end result was nothing like what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed like expansion in anything is like, you gotta watch it. You know, when your stock starts going up as an artist and everybody starts calling you, you gotta watch it, because it's much easier to kind of touch that brass ring than it is to stay up there holding that brass ring. You know.
Man, that's the truth.
Yeah. I remember like just taking on too much stuff when everybody was calling us after Alice in Wonderland. And yeah, it was a very quick learning, a quick lesson, but it was just like, don't take everything. There's a point, even though that's how we start off, by trying to make sure that we can take anything that comes our way, we'll take it, you know. There is a point where you gotta be more picky and you gotta switch.
I mean, that just makes sense in the long run, especially when you get more offers and are able to choose. Yeah.
Here's another one. Let's see here. I don't know if we talked about this one. Let me know if we did. I wrote down, how you deal with failure will determine how successful you'll become.
No, that's a new one. We didn't do that one yet.
Oh, okay. How you deal with failure. I think that's the key little thing there. How you deal with the failure will determine how successful you'll become.
I mean, especially in art, that's a thing, because the entire subject of art is just failing and failing and failing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would say, yeah, I agree.
Right on. Yeah, I was just saying, like, sometimes you're failing in front of hundreds of people at the same time, right, Masae?
Yeah. Every week.
This one wasn't too
Yeah.
bad though, you know? This one wasn't too bad. I do see like some stuff I would have changed in mind because my hues start to shift too much towards yellow. And you still kept the rosiness in the cheeks, and my rosiness is going. I hope I fixed that.
Yeah, and with the whole failure thing with the 90-minute art challenges, I feel like a lot in the beginning, I would say I failed certain parts, but I could have just said, "Hey, Bobby, I don't want to do these anymore," because I failed so much. Instead, I was just like, "Okay, let's keep going. Let's just do the next one, and then hopefully I'll do better." And that's kind of like how I dealt with it. Just like kind of learn from it, put it aside, go to the next one.
I was amazed by your tenacity because, like a lot of the painting in the beginning, I was teaching you, and now you're having to paint with me on my YouTube channel in front of a lot of people, right? And you were learning as you're painting with me. It wasn't like, okay, let me get 6 months and learn the hell out of this and then come paint with you.
Yeah.
It's been really cool. It's been really cool to see.
Actually, like by now, I wouldn't describe like failure as like the painting didn't turn out great or I made some mistakes in it. I would like name it more like a just a way of learning process, because I always struggle to understand what people mean by failure. Failure, I would say failure is more, like you tried 5-10 years and you still didn't succeed.
Love it. I love everything that you said there. And yeah, I don't think of these things as failures as well. I think failure is when you quit even though you should have kept going. Because there are points where you should quit, You're going the wrong direction, let's turn back, it doesn't make sense anymore. But if it's still logical to you and you quit, then that's failing.
I feel like this whole subject of failing, I think it can just be brought back to the whole question of should we challenge ourselves? And, well, the challenge determines whether or not we failed, right? Is your challenge to perfectly copy this image that we've got right here for the 90-minute challenge? Well, I can tell you every single person here probably failed, but I hope no one has set that certain goal.
Actually, I think... sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think like if somebody gives up earlier, then it means it doesn't suit him, this kind of work. So basically, maybe they have to consider, because it depends how much you want this thing to work. And so that's how much you're going to put in the next couple of works. But in general, I think an artist is like a river, a water which has to adapt, or is adapting by like what's coming and what he's noticing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's not too many jobs out there, and I find it difficult to think of one where you do not have to fail a whole bunch. You don't have to really like suffer too much, to get to a good level. I can't really think of too many. Everything you gotta be willing to fail a whole bunch, willing to put in that effort. You gotta be willing to pay the price to get that thing. Otherwise, you're gonna pay the price later because you had such a kind of, maybe an easier life than others. You know what I mean? Like if you got that simple job to get, that's generally going to be the job that will be automated later on or won't find you as valuable, things like that.
But isn't also like, if you don't, for example, it could be is the same, like hard as painting, because in the end you're doing something you don't like. So it's like it's the same struggle, but like the difference is what you like to do and what you don't like to do, and where you're going to put your effort in.
That's really,
It will
let
come
me,
up pleasing.
yeah, let me ask you this though, because I feel like there's stuff that I will never like, but then there is a leeway there where like there are things where you might not like it. Maybe it's a 5 or 6 on your scale, but you can learn to like it up to like a 8 or a 9. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
there's
Yeah.
you're
there's
right.
something there. There's something there. So for me, it's like I try to consciously like the things that I know would be good for me to like suffering, like failures. I when it deals with art, I like it, I enjoy it. I enjoy the failure, quote unquote failure, because it's not failure to me anymore. Right? So really practice enjoying the things that are good for you, but you might not like right now.
Well, and you also mentioned the question of how do you deal with failure, and do you have like a set way of dealing with that? I mean, you just mentioned that you don't really see it as failure anymore, but to people who do deal with failure, do you have any advice for them?
This is what I live by. I live by this, okay? So anytime that you are working hard and you're trying to think logically about how you're spending your time and all that stuff, you're succeeding. And sometimes, even though you're doing all that, you're doing the right thing, nothing happens in your career. Nothing good happens. And on top of that, something horrible happens that's totally not connected to what you're working so hard on a lot of times. Like maybe your car breaks down and now you need to get a new car, and now you don't have a new car, even though you're trying so hard to be a good artist and all this stuff. I believe that those moments is life's test. Life is testing me at this moment. They're saying, I notice you've been trying super hard and you've been doing everything logical. I just don't know if you deserve this next level yet. So here's a nice shit patty in your face. I'm sorry, but that's the test. Are you going to smile or are you going to cry? Because if you smile and you keep marching forward, that's when I know, hey, there's no point in throwing another shit patty in your face, because you're not going to stop, right? And that's how you pass life's test. You don't just keep going. You keep going with a smile on your face, and you go in a positive manner. And if another shit patty hits you before that level up, then that just means that the level up is even bigger. Even bigger. And then the flip side of this is the other thing I believe in. If you are not trying hard, if you're not giving it your all and you're not putting in that logic, the shit patties will still come, except they don't mean anything anymore. They're just shit patties flying at your face.
All right.
I love that. I love that.
I just take that and I just go, well, there's no other point except to, try hard, be positive, right? And try to think logically about how I'm spending my time. There's no way of failing at that point. The only way to fail is if you failed yourself, because success is no longer about whether you got that thing or they picked you. It's about how you are. Because eventually that will drive you to success. No doubt about it. 100% it will drive you to success. Right? Like, look how we're moved when we see a video or something about somebody that failed all their lives, but they kept trying. They kept trying. Like, we look up to these people. We're like, good for you. Frig. Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's not easy, but when you get through it, it's like the best taste of, like, I guess, victory, you know?
Yeah.
Getting
It's that fruit on top of Mount Everest. There's no other way to get to the top except for your own efforts. It doesn't matter where you were born, you know, how much money your family has, how many, you know, private helicopters to fly you anywhere. You cannot land on Mount Everest and have that fruit. There's no landing pad. You can only climb up. And that's so awesome about art, you know? That's the most awesome thing. The richest kid cannot beat you unless you beat yourself. Like, that rich kid, it doesn't matter how much money they had. They need to put in that effort to get to where you are.
Like that other guy said, time is the great equalizer.
Yeah. Anyhow, this was really fun. And last comments, Masae, about the painting?
It was fun. I actually really like this painting. It turned out better than I expected. I think next time I want to try to, like, copy less from the photo and maybe, you know, just look at it and learn how to use my own colors.
Awesome. Me too. You did a really great job with that Darth Samurai thing that Andrea did. That, obviously, that was harder to do it the way that you were doing it, right? Because you changed the lighting and everything.
Yeah, that was definitely hard. It probably helped that we did a photo study that was similar to that color concept and lighting scheme.
Good resolutions for 2021, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, hey, we're not done 2020 yet, because Monday we're going to be streaming with Ergo Josh.
Yay!
Yay! He's such a lovely...
The artist with the velvet voice.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, and that's going to be on Monday. That will be same time, right? Masae? 9:30 Pacific Eastern time, 6:30 Pacific time.
That's right.
And that will be the last one of the year, but we do have another stream that we recorded with the Discord group that will be playing the Thursday after. So
on New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
So
don't
we
forget
won't be
to
live,
subscribe.
but we'll be streaming.
Awesome. And yeah, for me, thank you to everybody that tuned in, all of the people in Discord, the Discord group, the Facebook people, the YouTube people, all the mods. Thank you so much for making it such a pleasant place for everybody to hang out, as well as assistant, my amazing right hand, Jamie Marshall. Thank you, Jamie, for being so awesome.
She's the best.
And last biggest thank you goes to Masae Seki. Thank you for being my painting partner. Yay.
Oh, for sure. And thanks for everyone on Discord. This conversation was really insightful, and it's nice to hear other opinions, and yeah, it was really fun. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.